Welcome on back to another episode of the Goonery. Back after a few weeks off because being an adult really sucks. But we're back, and since it's happened, a lot's happened since the last time we've talked.
Oh yes.
Let's just say Ryan Poles, he's cooking. He's cooking with gas.
I mean, I think people had expectations for the Bears going into this free agency that we were going to splurge, and it was just a matter of what players they were going to spend money on. And when you get a haul of Tremaine Edmonds, TJ Edwards, Deontay Foreman, Robert Tonyan, Nate Davis, those are core pieces. And I think what kind of confused some people at first was, why was the offensive tackle position not addressed at first? Mm-hmm. And I want to run down some things for everybody. Defensively, the Bears were terrible last year. They had no playmakers outside of Jalen Johnson, who was hurt. Eddie Jackson was hurt. Jaquan Brisker is still a young player, but he's probably going to, ascend to being a playmaker. And the defensive side needed to be addressed. And also too, when you look at the positions that were filled, it was, especially on the defensive end, it was the core pieces, and that was the linebacker position. And I think Matt Eberflus made it a priority to get both of the guys that they signed. Like, they're gonna do wonders on the Bears defense. But offensively, when you look at getting Deontay Foreman, which is one of the guys that I mentioned prior to free agency.
And I will say that is an under the radar name that I didn't consider it until you said it. And he really came into his own in the later half of this past season after the McCaffrey trade. And what is it, a $3 million deal?
Yeah.
And there's a lot of potential return on investment there for $3 million.
Absolutely. And one thing that stood out to me was how much Detroit overpaid for David Montgomery. Yes. And look how much we got the kind of the same guy who had better production than Montgomery. Granted, Montgomery was injured for a time, but Deontay Foreman really came into his own. And that's the biggest thing. Nate Davis was one of the bright spots on that Titans offensive line last season. And one of the big things that I saw in his gameplay footage is that he gets to the second level. Oh my God, a Bears guard that can get to the second level. It feels like I haven't seen that in years.
I know.
And that's how you see him play is exactly what Ryan Poles wants in the offensive lineman. And from an offensive lineman, I'm going to trust what he wants in an offensive lineman. Now, one move I think was very underrated, because there was obviously the DJ Moore trade. We was not around to discuss that. And obviously, massive move. Justin Fields gets the more receiver. But getting a second tight end and Robert Tonyan is so freaking huge. And I think people kind of forget because of how like not as productive season he had last season, that the previous season where Aaron Rodgers was healthy and was the MVP, Robert Tonyan was one of the top targets outside of Devontae Adams.
Double-digit touchdowns.
Exactly.
Touchdowns. That is going to end up being one of those signings that we're going to look back on and be like, wow, okay. Like, I didn't think most people outside of Bear fans did not think anything of it. But you look at a lot of these offenses around the league, two tight end sets are the key to success. And it just gives Fields another reliable guy across the middle. Right. And Tonyan's your more traditional hand in the dirt tight end. You can split Kmet out wide more often, let him do his thing in the slot. And there's just a lot more versatility on this offense than there was 3-4 weeks ago. And you could tell they are making an effort to make Justin Fields feel more comfortable.
Well, wait a minute. This was the same front office that people speculated that they didn't care about his development.
they were going to take Bryce Young, right? Remember that?
They would have taken Bryce Young, dude. They was going to trade him for all types of picks, and they're setting Justin Fields up for failure. Listen, if for those people who just didn't know what was happening with the Bears last season, it was the most clearest tank job where you compare the roster right now, although incomplete because the draft hasn't happened and every position has to be filled, and you compare it to last season where it was as a complete product. You're just like, damn. Like, it was very, very clear what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of how this season plays out, and we don't know, we have no idea because the draft is coming up and there's still a lot of unknowns. There could be a lot of dominoes to fall for this Bears team. But what was very clear last year is that they tanked, but they also did one of the most wonderful taking jobs you could possibly do in the past couple of years.
Ever potential.
I'm telling you, if they have some type of run this year comparable to where the Eagles was, because I don't want to compare where the Eagles was to where the Bears are right now, because there's a massive talent gap regardless of what happens in the draft. But point I'm trying to make is, if you see an ascent like the Eagles had for the Bears, this is an all-time best take job. And it's crazy that we are talking about all-time take jobs because obviously the objective is not to take. You don't want to be in a position to take.
No.
But if you have to do it correctly. And they have done that to perfection, albeit with some help by Houston. It's all good because we're not talking about that. Houston's going to get theirs, we're going to get ours, and that's fine. But right now, there is a lot of optimism in how everything has played out so far. It's just a matter of how are the Bears going to hit this draft? What is going to be the approach? And I think it's one of the most unpredictable things right now outside of the first round, because I think all signs point to the Bears picking an offensive lineman in the first round, whether they trade back or not. It's just a matter of what happens in the second round with those two second round picks.
No, that's it exactly, because I would be genuinely surprised if it is anything other than an offensive lineman in the first round. And it's going to come down to two people. It's going to come down to two people. It's going to come down to Paris Johnson, and it's going to come down to Skoronski. It's one of those two, and it's going to depend with, do you want to take Skoronski, who, just technically speaking, they say he has the best technique in the drafts and he is pro ready. He played tackle in college. They're going to kick him inside the guard in the NFL, most likely. Okay, fine, whatever. The thing with Johnson is he played tackle and guard at a high level in college. And yeah, there's the narrative that, Skoronski, hometown guy, whatever. I don't care. Get Paris Johnson on this team right now. Right now.
And also, too, I think we got to take into account that's Justin Fields' boy.
Yeah.
He's involved in the draft.
Exactly.
And if you want to talk about measurables too, we've been talking about since the Bears offseason started. We like Skoronski, but he's a little bit undersized. So, and you want a lanky guy like Paris Johnson, and one guy you didn't even bring up, if there is a scenario for a trade back, Broderick Jones fits the bill.
No, he
perfectly
does.
for the Chicago Bears. Fits it perfectly. So the options right now are pretty good in your favor, because I'd be shocked if any of those three guys goes before 9, and I'll be shocked if two of those three guys isn't on the board if you trade back with a Houston or Tennessee or even New England at 14. I think at 14, but they're in a good spot. They can trade back. They can afford to trade back and get more picks, and they'll still be in a really good position. And that's why, trading back with Carolina was a really, really good thing, because you get such a grand haul with a number one receiver and an extra second round pick. I mean, goodness, man, it's exactly what you were looking for. It's just a matter of what's going to happen. It's just so unpredictable, because it's almost as unpredictable as last year's draft, where you are completely stripped of a lot of draft picks, but you made it work by just trading back. And I feel like you're going to see a lot of trading back with the Bears, because it's all about picks. What value can we get at certain picks? And that's that excites the hell out of me. I don't
No,
know about you, but it
absolutely.
excites the
Yeah.
hell out of me.
I mean, you're the mock draft guy out of this show. I mean, I genuinely enjoy looking at all the mock drafts you send me because that just gets my brain going. It gets
Yeah.
my brain going. And you sent me one, I think it was either yesterday or 2 days ago, where you had, was it two trade backs?
It was two trade backs.
Trade backs, and you got John Schmitz in the second round, and I'm just like, okay. And it's you also got what's his name from North Dakota State, the
Cody Maw.
Cody Maw. Darnell Washington was in that mock as well,
which is wild because I'm like, wait, hold on.
Yeah. It's just there are so many ways they could go with this, and there's just a buzz surrounding this team right now. And you know, they can come out and win 7 games next year. That's fine. If they win 7 games next year, I'll be happy. Genuinely, you just need to see them take that step. And if they once they take that step, they're still going to have all that cap room, right? They're not. It's still going to be there. Everyone's going to want to be here next year when they see Justin Fields can put it together.
I have been saying this since the middle of last season. People are noticing who Justin Fields and how he operates. If you are an opposing defender, do you want to face that guy who has the threat to go deep, but also outrun you for 75 to 80 yards? You know, like I've never played defense in my life, but I wouldn't want to do that. Definitely not. So, but also one thing that I do want to mention, because I feel there are people who have got a little bit impatient with in terms of addressing the offensive line as a whole and getting depth and whatnot.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Relax. Because here's the thing. You're not going to get starting caliber offensive linemen in the third, fourth, fifth wave of free agency. It just doesn't work that way. You get the draft picks and you however many that they draft, and you get them in there and to compete with the guys you're going to bring in as depth pieces. That's just how it goes. But I will warn Bears fans, because I feel like they have this idea of how they will want rounds 1 and 2 to go. Obviously, first round should be tackled. I still see mock drafts where people pick Jackson Smith and Jigba, guilty, and and there's the second round you'll just offensive line. I'm fine with either or, because I feel like the offensive line talent, offensive tackle talent is pretty damn good, especially from the center position. But I want Bears fans to really realize one thing and don't be mad at it. One position that was not addressed throughout free agency, it was the cornerback position. If we draft one in the second round, it's okay. It's okay.
Hey, guess what? I'd be okay with it in the first round. I would be okay with it in the first round. And there is a hometown boy. I know I made fun of hometown cooking earlier. Devin Witherspoon. Bring him up from Champaign. Bring him to Chicago from Champaign, because holy shit, can that guy play?
He can play. I just remember
balls.
I just remember the Michigan game against Illinois. Like, who in the hell is number 31? He's all over the damn field. He's all over. He was making plays the entire game. I was like, this guy is. He's great. He has that effect to bring to a defense that I want to say Sauce Gardner, because Sauce Gardner to me is 1-on-1. I have never seen a prospect like that outside of Jalen Ramsey. He was really good in college, and that transitioned easily to the NFL. But he has that he can bring that difference. To the Chicago Bears, and it intrigues me.
Climbing up draft boards.
Yeah, it's crazy. If you told me that at the end of last season that Devon Witherspoon was going to be a top 10 pick, I'd have said no way, no way, because he was slated to at least be a second rounder. He shot up the boards fast, and I completely understand it. Because there's a legit conversation. Who's better between him and Christian Gonzalez? And honestly, I don't know. I mean, granted, from my eye test, I would say Devon Witherspoon is better because I've seen more Illinois games than Oregon games. But man, it's crazy. It's crazy, man.
There's so many ways they could go about it. So I want to ask you, if there's one position on this team that's a little under the radar that you would like to see addressed through the draft, what would you like it to be?
Oh, that's a really good. So I like offensive lineman is just so obvious. I'm not even gonna
I mean, no, that's the thing. We could sit here talking about offensive linemen all day, and I have one ready, and it's a very weird one, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
I think I know. But I would like to see an edge rusher. Second round, there's Felix Anaduke Azuma out there, and Will McDonald. Let's see if he drops. And then Double A from Northwestern. I'm not going to pronounce his name because I don't know how to yet. I'll learn on draft night. If he falls, that'll be a godsend because I know the Bears are like head over heels over him. And they need an impact edge rusher. They really do. And it really makes you wonder too, because we're talking about how maybe Jackson Smith-Njigba, one of the offensive tackles that we mentioned earlier, cornerback. What if edge rusher is the way they go? What if Tyree Wilson falls to 9? What if Miles Murphy falls to 9? Like, what do you do there? Do you go edge rusher? Or hell, even though this is out of left field, but what if Jalen Carter actually falls to number 9?
I was just about to ask you that.
Let me tell you something.
Take him, right? You have to.
You absolutely take him, because if you are taking him, and granted, there'll be 8 other teams that pass them up, which would kind of be a warning sign, because it's like, all right, character-wise, you don't line up with us. But if Ryan Poles can connect with them, that means something.
Yep.
So if you want to take that leap, you go for it, because if you can get the best out of him, because keep this in mind, it's always the 3 techniques that is the anchor of a Matt Eberflus defense.
Yep.
That's major. And it makes such a big deal that you could put the offensive tackle on the back burner. And hell, even if, and I know this is kind of bringing up PTSD for a lot of Bears fans, but even if you have to trade up in the second round to get an offensive tackle, you get that person, because it is such an important position that you have to capitalize on. You have to. It's a must.
Yeah. So mine that I was coming from a little bit of left field here. I want to see a third quarterback drafted. I really do. And I know some might say that's a waste of a draft pick. I don't want I can't have Nathan Peter. I know he's not on the roster right now, but he'll be back if they don't draft a quarterback, right? You would have to assume. I just do not want Nathan Peterman on this roster, man. And that's all that comes down to. And I'm not saying we're going to get to that emergency quarterback situation where you're going to need that number 3. God forbid that ever happens. But you saw what happened to the 49ers, right?
Yes.
It's just weirder things have happened. And I don't want to rely on Nathan Peterman. I love the PJ Walker signing.
Yes, I do too.
Love the PJ Walker signing. That's about as good of a backup quarterback signing for the system that you can get, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
It's a great fit, a genuine great fit.
Now, I know for the sake of the NFL, they absolutely hated how that NFC Championship game went. They hated it. So at this owners meeting, with all this talk about flexing games to Thursday night, which is an absolutely horrifying idea, they need to discuss having 3 quarterbacks back on a game day roster, because the craziest shit has happened where the 49ers, despite their success, they had to rely on a 3rd, 4th string quarterback to get them through a game, and that's just it's not good. But let me ask you a question, because I've said to you a whole lot of mock drafts that I get lost with a lot of the ones I've done.
Yeah.
There was a quarterback that was taken in the 7th round in a lot of those mock drafts. Do you remember who that quarterback was?
I believe I do. And correct me if I'm wrong, UCLA?
Him, but it was another guy.
slipping my mind then.
Malik Cunningham. I don't know if y'all remember, and it's probably because Louisville just was not good. But Malik Cunningham was electric, and even though you're not gonna look to him to be a guy who's gonna put up even 200 yards in a game. I don't think so.
No.
But if you want to take mileage off of Justin Fields and you put him in anywhere of the field because he seems like a pure freaking athlete, you do that. You add as much firepower to your roster as possible.
Yeah.
And if the bridge comes there where you have to start him as your starting quarterback, you're probably fucked. But at the same time, you still get someone somewhat similar to Justin Fields in terms of what he can do with the football in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
So the third quarter, the rookie quarterback, I am absolutely not opposed to it. If it's got to be the later round, sure, so be it.
No, I mean, you're not taking that any earlier than the 6th round. I don't care. You're just not, and that's fine.
Yes,
that's fine. It's like I said, probably a dumb thought, but in my head, it makes sense.
No, it absolutely does, because I've seen mocks with it, people that are drafting Max Duggan in the 7th round. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. It just, I'd rather not him because, let Fields throw interception. It's already got a quarterback controversy. But yes, like I'm in total lockstep with you. I honestly thought you was going to go kicker, and I think that's somewhere you may want to kick the tires in on.
I'm not opposed to that. That is
it wasn't all the way pretty for Cairo Santos.
No, it has
you worry about his leg too.
The leg strength is definitely leaves a little something to be desired. There's
Absolutely
no doubt about that. But they can figure that out. So on the topic of quarterbacks around the league, let's start out with Aaron Rodgers, right? Since we talked last time, he's came out on the Pat McAfee show. Shocker. Broke news himself on the McAfee show. Comes out and essentially said, I'll be playing for the New York Jets next year. This was what, over a week ago now?
Yeah.
So that leads me to think that this just isn't happening at this point. And you have to think it's because of some type of holdup and compensation where Packers are asking way too much for a 40-year-old quarterback who could potentially just retire halfway throughout the year, because that's kind of the trajectory that Aaron Rodgers is on right now, it feels like. And, Jets players are recruiting him hard, rightfully so. They don't want Zach Wilson to be their quarterback again. Mike White left. I mean, they're going to bring Joe Flacco in? And I mean, they're at that stage of the game right now where it really is Rodgers or bust.
Yeah.
And it doesn't seem like it's happening. And I kind of feels like it's retirement more than anything for Rodgers at this point.
It's such a tough situation, because if you look at it from the perspective of how many years can you get out of Aaron Rodgers? I think that's what a real holdup is, because if you are guaranteed 2 years of Aaron Rodgers, that the 2 first-round picks may not be that bad, especially with how much talent there is on this team and how much young talent there is, to be exact. So I get it from that perspective, but it feels like this deal is done. It's just a matter of just working out the kinks. Now, boy, is there a risk for the Jets, because with how weird of a guy Aaron Rodgers was, I think one thing really stood out to me. When he went into that darkness retreat, he said he was by 80% retired. And then he just snapped back out of it and says, I want to play again. So 2 things. You have to worry about the risk of him wanting to retire or mulling retirement after the season.
Yep.
And number 2, like, if he is this going to be a continual thing where he goes into these retreats and the Jets could have a underwhelming season and he just like, man, that's not what I signed up for. I think I want to get out of here. Like, it's one of those things where we saw with Tom Brady last year. We constantly thought that he was going to beat Father Time.
Mhm.
Like if there was anyone who's going to
It
be
would have
Father
been
Time, it was him.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
It didn't happen. He had a really really bad exit to his football career. Let's keep it honest here.
Yeah.
So who knows if that's going to be if Aaron Rodgers is going to fall into that same thing, considering he's going to be playing in a conference that he is absolutely not on the best team, and he's not the best quarterback on that team. He's not the best on that team in that conference. So the Jets are in a really, really interesting position because there are a lot of fans who are going to say, "You better win, man,"
Yeah.
because your future is being stripped right now. Because if you don't win a championship, we gave up 2 first-round picks for absolutely nothing.
Nothing. Yep.
And I don't know what kind of leverage game is being played because there's people they're saying, hey, Brian Gutekunst said, hey, we don't need the 14th pick or 15th pick, whichever one they have.
Mhm.
They're just like, okay, what's holding it up then? What is it?
Yeah, and it's what it has to be it has to be coming down to compensation at this point, and I think there have to be for this deal to get done. You have to throw some type of escalators in this deal where if Rodgers plays X amount of games here, th- this pick turns in from a second into a first. If it doesn't, it's a second or a third, like something
Mhm.
along those lines. I feel like that deal will get done like that.
Yeah.
And problem is, you don't see Green Bay budging, and Green Bay has absolutely zero leverage in this situation because one, Aaron Rodgers came out and said what he said that he will be a New York Jet next year, and two, Matt LaFleur came out was that 2 days ago and said that essentially said that Jordan Love sucks and we have no confidence in him. Which
Yeah.
when my best friend who's a Packer fan is sending that to me with laughing emojis saying I'm so shook right now. Like, things aren't good in Green Bay because he never pulls the curtain back like that. And man, that felt good to hear. That felt good to hear because for one time in our lives, there is no uncertainty at the quarterback position for the Chicago Bears, and there is absolutely no clue what is going to happen in Green Bay next year. I mean, in either of our lives, there has never been a doubt at what's going to happen at quarterback in Green Bay.
With franchise who's been split with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers, you got what 2 championships in their tenure. They've been spoiled, but not by championships. But I digress.
And I would
Even though we have zero, but
yeah, I was going to say I would take being spoiled with those quarterbacks and no championships over what we've had, but that's a different can of worms we could get into at a different time. But I mean, if you had to guess right now, yes or no, will Aaron Rodgers be a Green Bay Packer or a New York Jet or retire?
I think he will be a New York Jet.
I'm of the opinion I think he will retire. I genuinely don't see a deal getting done here, and I think retirement's more likely than going back to Green Bay.
I'm telling you, this would be the most horrific offseason in Jets history to go from possibly getting a former MVP quarterback to picking up the phone and running up your minutes to see who can you trade up with for a quarterback, because you're not under any circumstances going to start Zach Wilson.
No.
That's just terrible. You know what? I've been of the opinion that the Jets should have been targeting Lamar Jackson this entire time.
So I want to get into that because I think it's more likely he is a New York Jet than Aaron Rodgers. And if I'm the Jets, I'm doing whatever I can to bring him to New York.
Yeah.
And it's just the Baltimore Ravens are a franchise who have always been run the right way, right? Aside from never wanting to get their quarterback someone to throw to other than a tight end and a running back, they never want to they just said, fuck it, we'll throw our kick returner out there. You can throw the deep ball to him, right? And then they trade Hollywood Brown, Lamar's guy. They have not even, not once have they tried to right any type of wrong with Lamar. And you kind of saw the crumbs these last few years starting to come out, last 2 years or so, along the lines of, oh, like Lamar's hurt. I don't know when he'll be back. Harbaugh, right? And then the fact
Mhm.
that Lamar dropped his tweet that he requested a trade at the beginning of the month, right as Harbaugh was coming to the presser at coaches meetings, is,
Totally on accident. I'm sure you didn't mean it.
oh no, didn't mean it at all. Like completely like coincidental. And it's just you that is a level of petty I aspire to be in life. If I'm
I mean,
is
I
it
mean,
it that's just it's like chef's kiss. The Ravens PR team is scrambling the minute that news comes out. And
absolutely.
Harbaugh doesn't even know. He has no clue. But it's I just don't understand how the Baltimore Ravens can do this to their quarterback when I'll say this though. I'll say this. Deshaun Watson fucked the market for all quarterbacks.
And well, before you go further, I'm sure when the owners are going to meet, they're probably plotting how to drag Jimmy Haslam's body and just throw it on top of the roof so he can never get down from there. That's how pissed
Yeah.
they are at him.
I mean, like, and I don't even think that the owners are colluding at this point. I just like I think it's more so the fact that these owners, they're all really rich. They want to keep all their money as much as possible. And I've been reading into it a little bit. I mean, this would be the case with the Bears, right? Since the Bears' money, the ownership, it all comes from the fact that they own the franchise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, they have money. Let's not. I'm not saying that, but when you guarantee all this money, right? You need to put that into escrow then, and
Mm-hmm.
if like the end of the day, that's probably why a lot of these people are not wanting to hand out 250 million guaranteed to a quarterback. And that's not to say Lamar has not earned that money. He has. When he's been on the field, he's as good as it gets, honestly.
Yeah.
He is I have a hard time believing that if presented with the opportunity for a straight swap, at least 80 to 85% of franchises in this league would not do it with their current quarterback, Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Genuinely. And I don't even that number might even be low. Because if he stays healthy, it's a different beast, man.
It's just interesting to me because it almost like transitions into a morality thing for the owners because granted, obviously only one owner made the only guaranteed contract deal, but this was with a guy in Deshaun Watson who, number one, had a shit ton of allegations with sexual assault, and then he was going to miss over 50% of the games going into next season. That guy was given a guaranteed contract. So it's like, damn, although that's one franchise, it seemed that at that particular time, there was not a single owner who batted an eye at him, at Jimmy Haslam giving him that contract.
Nope.
But now we have a guy who's representing himself, a black quarterback who's representing himself, and all of a sudden, because I don't know about the whole collusion thing, but I do know this: somebody's lying.
Yep.
Somebody's lying. Because everybody wants to put up this front. And as soon as the first team shows interest in Lamar Jackson, everybody's going to start to scramble and try to show that same interest.
Yep.
And for some reason, they're playing this whole game of we're not interested, we're not interested, we're not interested. Let me tell you something. There are franchises that have been just they have not had the best history with quarterbacks. I'm calling on you, Washington Commanders. I'm calling on you to an extent, the Atlanta Falcons. I'm calling on you, Las Vegas Raiders. Y'all telling me that an MVP quarterback could possibly be in your lap and you're going to say, we don't want to guarantee money. But you know something? You give these contracts to these guys that that are getting overpaid because they have to set a certain market. I completely understand it, and it hits a little bit harder when it's a quarterback. But Lamar Jackson is just not some dude. This
No,
guy's
and
won an MVP. He was the whole Ravens team offensively because they, like you said, outside of a running back and a tight end, they don't sign wide receivers. They don't sign them. They trade away Hollywood Brown. So what really is it? Because if it's really about the guaranteed contract, say it.
yeah.
Say it. Because somebody's gonna have to budget eventually.
Mm-hmm. So, hey, I just quick question. I got to ask. We're just on the topic of lack of help at the receiver position for the Ravens historically. Who would you guess is the all-time career leader in receiving yards for the Baltimore Ravens?
Oh my God. I am going to guess. Damn, this is tough. I'm going to guess Todd Heap.
Close. He's number 2.
Oh wow.
He's number 2.
Is the answer? Oh, what's his name? Torrey Smith.
No, he comes in at number 7. Out of the top 10, 4 of them are tight ends.
Oh my God.
And,
That
and one of them is Dennis Pitta.
Dennis Pitta. Wow, that just unlocked the memory. Wow. Who? Okay, I'm probably not gonna get. I have guesses, but I'm not gonna keep guessing. Who is it?
Derek Mason.
I was going to say, but I'm just like, he didn't spend that much time in Baltimore for him to be number 1. But that's crazy.
Yeah, he has 5,700 career yards with the Ravens, and that is their number 1 receiver of all time.
That's pathetic. That's genuinely pathetic.
With with Todd Heap coming in at number 2, Ray Rice at number 3,
Ray Rice at number 3,
and then Mark Andrews at 4.
Mark Andrews, who's not even touching 30.
No, he's been in the league since 2018.
That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. That's it. By the time he leaves, he's going to be number 1. But
I mean, it won't even be close. Let me take a look at the numbers. I mean, it'd have to be probably the most historic season for a tight end ever, but he could do it this year potentially.
Yeah, that's embarrassing. That's genuinely embarrassing.
Yeah, but do you think that there's any way? So let's just say the Ravens, they put the franchise tag on him, right? He's not playing a game for the Ravens next year, right? No,
absolutely
there's not a shot. Or is it one of those things where, I mean, I don't think he will, but is it one of those things where you think he potentially goes, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna go out there and I'm gonna play my balls off this year and walk away when they offer me a big contract next offseason, just as a middle finger and a fuck you?
I think it'll be a waste of time for him to do that.
I agree. I agree with you. I just think
because it would be beautiful for him to do that, because clearly the Ravens don't value him. They just don't. But literally, this was the fear going into last season, that he's going to go into the season without, his contract. I just didn't want him to get hurt, and boom, what happens? He gets hurt, and now everyone's scared to pay him because of some injury history. But that it only matters for him.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's gonna be an interesting couple of weeks, especially with the draft coming up here. I think that there's gonna be a lot more clarity here. Clearly, I mean, it seems like we're gonna see 4 quarterbacks taken in the first round, most likely, right?
Yep.
Let's workshop those teams. All right, clearly, Panthers are taking a quarterback. They traded up to 1. They're fools if they don't draft a quarterback for that haul. Texans are going to take a quarterback, most likely. You would think. But you never know. I mean,
Indianapolis,
yeah, but that kind of leaves Anthony Richardson there because I think Will Levis, unfortunately, somehow people still haven't watched the tape. They just have watched the combine. He's going to be a top 10 pick. Did you see? I just have to ask on the topic of Will Levis. The NFL official account tweeted out a Will Levis Instagram post today about how he posted a shirtless mirror picture of himself at the end of the football season saying the weakest and least out of shape he's ever been in his entire life. 226 pounds, right? Six-pack abs, looked ripped, looked like he was on an SEC strength program. He posted how he's been working harder than he ever has in his entire life, and he's in the best shape of his life now, blah, blah, blah. 230 pounds, 4-pound difference, and the NFL is out here posting that on the official account.
NFL, you're trying too hard, bro. Stop it. Stop it. You just say you want him to go number one. Just say it. I mean, they even tweet out it clearly, nobody has learned a lesson in the NFL because I'm gonna tell you something. The same throws that Will Levis was making at the combine at his pro day, you know who I saw make those same throws? Zach Wilson. I saw him make the same throws. So you know what? Whatever franchise wants to go out there and take the risk on him, go right ahead. Go right ahead. It's always about the intangibles. It's always about the intangibles because his tape ain't that damn good, but it's all about the intangibles. You can say the same thing about Anthony Richardson. That's the same reason why he jumped up the boards. I get it. I completely understand. But at least people are acknowledging he has all the tools, but he's still a project.
Yep.
Will Levis, everyone thinks he's a complete project. He can start from day one.
Which is insane because he was horrendous. I'm going to say it. I was not once impressed by him at Kentucky, and he lost a starting job to Sean Clifford at Penn State.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He lost a quarterback competition to Sean Clifford.
That's not good. That's really not good.
No, and people don't talk about that enough.
Oh no. I didn't know that. Yeah. And I'm just thinking about it. Sean Clifford, he lost to Sean. Let's move on, man. That startled me. Oh my God.
So the biggest weekend in sports entertainment.
Let's go.
In quite some time. WrestleMania 39. I don't know the last time I've been this excited for a WrestleMania. I don't know about you. It's a solid card, but the big matches feel like WrestleMania matches. And I feel like that's what makes your WrestleMania stand out. You have a legitimate case here you have a rock solid 2 matches that can main event both nights. Whether or not they pull the trigger on one of them as the main event for the first night, we'll have to wait and see.
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of want to talk. There's a lot of matches I'm looking forward here to. I want to start though with an underrated one that we knew was coming for a long time. Dominic and Rey Mysterio.
Yes.
In a span of, I don't know, 6 to 8 months since the Judgment Day is formed, maybe a little bit longer than that, Dominic has gone from getting go away heat to legitimate top of the roster fuck you heel heat. And
yes.
It is truly a sight to behold. Like, it is incredible watching the transformation that he's made.
You know, it's funny about Dom is that there's times where I'm just like, man, this kid needs to go back to promo school. And then I'll just be like, they hate his fucking guts. He's doing something right.
He's doing something right. And I mean, if the fix for every person who comes up from development too soon is to do some hard time in county jail, fucking get him to it because I mean, he gets more heat than just about anyone on the roster right now. I mean, I don't even want to say Reigns gets heat at this point because it's just like
he has Reigns. He has Reigns in Canada. Go away, heat.
Yes, there we go. Yes, and there's a few ways I could see this match going. I do think Dominic wins this match. Jenny, I do. I don't. I think this is the beginning of the end for Ray, and I think we're gonna see some just chicken shit heel performance from Dom. I'm expecting him to ride out a low rider. I'm
Oh,
fully,
that would be
I
so,
am
oh my
fully
God.
expecting him to ride out in a low rider wearing Eddie Guerrero pants, redoing the mullet, an I'm your poppy shirt. No, he'll wear an I'm your mommy shirt. Who am I kidding? But I genuinely, I think we're gonna just see him. I wouldn't be surprised to hear him come out to Eddie Guerrero entrance music.
That would be crazy.
I
That would
mean,
be crazy.
genuinely, especially after him saying, "I wish Eddie was my real dad." Like, I don't know. I don't see a scenario where he loses this match. I really don't.
Funny you say that because I actually do have Rey Mysterio win this match. And the thing is too, I think the thing about Dom's character is that his character is based on being not self-aware. I don't think people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be very honest. He has reached a point to me. If he loses, he doesn't lose anything. I think a loss,
Fair. No, that's
not,
fair.
I think a loss will not hurt him because the heat is always going to be there. And I think even if he does lose, his snap, his comeback's going to be very, very easy, in my opinion. And I feel like, and here's what I think could be the best case scenario for him winning. Rey Mysterio saying, "Listen, I'm not going to fight you anymore," and that's going to lead to a pretty damn good match at Backlash against Bad Bunny. Because why the hell not? Why the hell not?
Oh my God. I did not even think about that.
Because he's going to be competing at Backlash. He
Oh,
1000% is going to be
there's no
competing.
way he doesn't. There's absolutely no way he does not. I mean, damn, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
I really did. I didn't even think about that. All right, so that's the first match I kind of wanted a little not under the radar, but I want to discuss one. Next one I want to get into here is John Cena and Austin Theory. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I finally see it with Austin Theory, man. The last like month or two, I finally see what they see in him.
This is gonna be a shocker. Austin Theory is going to start his slow ascent to being a top babyface after this match. I believe he will be John Cena.
Oh, I think he will too.
And after the match, there will be a handshake that will ascent him to being a babyface. Do what I agree with it? Not quite, but I've seen a lot of things where he's going to compete on 2 nights, have an open challenge like John Cena on the second night, which I'm absolutely not opposed to.
No.
But what I will say is this: buy your stock on Austin Theory. It's only going to get better from here.
I bought my stocks.
And I think, because we got to be very honest here, the main reason why people don't like Austin Theory is because of the allegations. Completely understand it. I completely get it. And people will never like it because of it. I completely get it. But in terms of a character in ring standpoint, he's improved dramatically from where he was the selfie guy. Because I said it from the jump, that selfie stuff is not going to last.
Garbage.
It was bad. It was really, really bad. And you see the difference between Hunter's WWE and Vince's WWE, but I digress. But that's one of my bolder predictions for this weekend. We're going to see a Austin Theory face turn.
I don't hate that at all. I don't hate that at all, and I just can't believe I'm at a point where I finally see it with Austin Theory. I mean, he's what, 25 years old, and he just, everyone says like the it factor, right? Austin Theory just has it, man.
Yeah, and he's going to get better. That's the
Oh
crazy
yeah.
thing. He's going to get a lot better.
Oh yeah. So I want to talk Omos Brock Lesnar because I think this is gonna be a lot more entertaining than people want to admit. I think Brock is still gonna end up winning. I mean, Omos isn't gonna gain anything or lose anything from losing to Brock Lesnar. He'll be elevated if anything, just being in the ring with them. I still don't see it with Omos. Whatever. This was 1985. Sure.
He'd be champion.
Oh yeah, he's the world
He'd be champion.
But it's not. There's monsters who can do a lot more than he can, but it says a lot that he's getting that Brock Lesnar rub.
I will say this. I think Brock Lesnar is going to make him look really, really good.
I agree. I mean, when he wants to, there is nobody in the entire industry, and I'm not pulling punches when I say that, who sells as good as Brock Lesnar.
He may be one of the greatest sellers of all time. He might be the greatest seller of all. Him and Rock are like 1 and 2. Like,
when
he's great at it.
Do it.
And also, I know people are shitting on this match, but keep this in mind. Brock Lesnar wanted this match.
Yeah.
So he's going to do the job. So, but I do think this is going to be a match where Brock Lesnar does his best to elevate him. Who knows if it will elevate him? Because the one thing I'm looking for in this match is just not a long one, but just them beating the shit out of one another. That's all it needs to be. It needs to be a brawl. That's it. And
it's a sprint like Goldberg and Brock at Mania. What was that in New Orleans? Whatever year that was.
The one in Orlando.
Yes, Orlando. Yes.
Which by the way, I enjoyed the fuck out of that match.
I love that match.
That match is great. I don't care what anyone says, but it's just tough for me because after Omos loses, I think he's going to lose. He's kind of in no man's land. Yeah. He's kind of in no man's land because if he loses another match, he loses all credibility as a giant because it's like, all right, like you're big, you're tall, but you can't win like pay-per-view matches. Like we don't care. Like it's gonna reach that point. And I feel bad because like Omos only has one job, and that's just to be big and just manhandle people. That's it.
Yeah.
But it's like, where does that guy have a place in today's WWE is my real question.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So next match I want to get to is Rhea Ripley and Charlotte. Ultimately, it's kind of looking like that's going to be main event of night one, which it's just like meh to me. Like you're delayed. It's just, that match, in my opinion, is the least unpredictable match of the entire weekend.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other scenario other than Rhea Ripley walking out of there with the title around her waist.
Absolutely, and I do want to keep this into perspective too, because granted, it's been a long layoff, but the Charlotte Flair matches since she's come back has been a little lackluster.
I agree.
I'm hoping that Rhea Ripley can get that out of her, but I just think because I think a lot of what the stories for WrestleMania has been built off of all the matches are going to build themselves. And I agree with that sentiment, but with how this match, because I feel like this match should have way more heat. I feel like Rhea Ripley should be like crazed over beating the person that kind of costed her ascend back in 2020. Like that, it should have been that. So I feel like with the lack of heat for this storyline, that I wouldn't have it main eventing. Like I don't know, like it's missing. Like that fire is missing from this program, and which I don't know how you can get excited for it to be the main event.
I can't. I mean, it's just neither of the women's title matches, there's not much heat to them. There really isn't. I'm excited for Bianca Belair and Asuka though. I am excited to watch that. I think that's going to be one hell of a match. I don't know. I feel like it's in a weird spot where it doesn't feel like Bianca Belair's title reign is ready to be over yet, but it also doesn't feel like Asuka can lose with this new change in character. So
Right.
I think since I, I think since Bianca's gotten her WrestleMania moment, I think it's Asuka's match to lose.
Yeah, the example of matches building themselves, I think Bianca and Asuka is one of those because of where they stand in the women's division, especially outside because the women's division is very top heavy. I mean,
Yeah,
that drop off after Rhea and Charlotte and Bianca and Asuka, and to a somewhat lesser extent, Liv Morgan, it's a pretty big drop off. So I think that you're so right. You hit the nail on the head. It's one of those things where Asuka can't afford to lose, but I will say we saw kind of an evil side to Asuka at which she attacked Bianca after the match. I think Bianca will. My prediction is that Bianca will win, but I think Bianca winning at this particular time would be the best because I think we need to get a more unhinged, hardcore side of Asuka, and the way that will set her over the edge is losing this match. So I think it would be for the best if you want to end her title reign after WrestleMania. Sure, do that and have Asuka, just go completely unhinged.
No,
but
I agree.
but
That would be a good way to take it. That would be a good way to take it. So next match I want to get into, I've already chalked it up as being the match of the weekend. Triple threat, Gunther, Sheamus, Drew McIntyre.
Yeah.
You can see the video however many times you want on Twitter of Big E. I just love big sweaty men slapping meat. That's exactly what this is going to be. And it is going to be in the best way possible. If this, all right, I don't believe in this system. I don't believe in it. But if this gets less than 5 stars on Meltzer's bullshit star rating, I will be genuinely surprised.
See, I agree, even though I would take Meltzer's ratings and take a fat shit on it, but that's besides the point. But my brand of wrestling, I like technicians. I like the whole ordeal. I don't like it all the time, but I do like it. But my brand of wrestling is big motherfuckers beating the absolute shit out of one another. That's what I want to say. This match is literally up my alley. And me personally, and granted, this coming from a lens of just watching AEW and WWE, but Gunther and Sheamus was my match of the year last year. That was my favorite match.
I'm with you.
You had Drew McIntyre into that scenario, a guy who also likes to beat the shit out of people. Yeah. I'm with it. Like that match and maybe another match that you're gonna bring up, like going down the line. Those are going to be my 2 matches of the weekend. I can't wait for that. That's gonna.
So what do you see happening here? Because I think we're starting to get to a point where Gunther's ready for the main event. We're not starting to get to a point. We've been at that point. Everyone knows he's ready for the main event, but he's not in a position where you could have him and feed him to either Roman Reigns or Cody Rhodes at this point in time, because Roman's not going to lose. I hate to say this. Roman is not losing that belt to a foreign guy. I mean, they need another guy right out of the gate after Reigns who can do the media, who could do. I mean, it sucks that that's the reality of the situation.
Yes, you're right about that.
But that's why, in my opinion, he's not the guy to dethrone Reigns when he probably should have been with how this run has been with him. But he's not in a position to lose the Intercontinental title yet. At this point, I think you're foolish to not let him break a Honky Tonk Man's record.
Yeah. But it does come with conditions, though, because I personally think Drew McIntyre will win by not pinning Gunther, but it's just a matter of how quickly are they going to catapult him into the main event. Because me personally, they should wait till SummerSlam.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree.
But how long could you have him meddling in not having a title, just having mid-card feuds is the real question.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you want to get him into, because let's be honest, this triple threat feud he's in, this is a main event feud without a main event title.
Mm-hmm.
Like that,
Mm-hmm.
This is something that you could sell as a main event match for a world title.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of, let's say if he does lose this, my prediction does come true. Where does he go from there? That's going to be the real question, because they're clearly high on him. They love him.
I mean, you don't break the all-time Rumble record and make it to the final two and have 5-6 minutes in the ring with Cody Rhodes before you're eliminated if they're not.
Absolutely.
And it's, I don't think he loses. I would be surprised if he does. And I don't see any situation here where Drew McIntyre wins at all.
Ooh.
I don't. I think if anything, he is the person who will be eating the pin in every scenario.
Ooh, you know what? It would make a lot of sense considering he did pin Sheamus.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to establish his dominance as a dominant IC champion, you have him pin Drew McIntyre. I'm on board with that.
It's and how do I put this? I mean, all three of these, well, I'm not going to say all three. Two of these three guys are bulletproof at this same time. And yeah, Drew McIntyre, I'm sorry, you're out there to eat the pin. That's why this is a triple threat. Genuinely, that is why it's a triple threat, because he's not winning it, right? You could sell the Grand Slam title with Sheamus. It's the only title he's never won. And if Gunther wins, the only thing is, if Gunther wins here, right? Who's next for him in the mid card, right?
That's a good question.
Because from a pure mid card perspective, who is stepping up and believably beating him if those two couldn't beat him in a triple threat?
I got to be honest with you. The only guy is Braun Breaker. It's the only guy. The only guy.
Yeah.
It makes sense because he beat him in NXT. That was the last match, but he's the only guy who makes sense right now. They tried it with Braun Strowman. He didn't win. They're not gonna run it back with him, but that's the only one.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, unfortunately. I mean, I like Braun Breaker. I do. But I don't want them to rush him and get him into I hate to say it, a Roman Reigns situation where he's turned on from being pushed too quickly.
And you know what? Guess what? It's already happening, and I absolutely hate it because I'm a big Braun Breaker fan.
Yep.
Even though I'm not rooting for him this weekend, but I'm a big Braun Breaker fan.
So yeah, I think end of the day, I think Gunther's walking out of LA with the IC title wrapped around his waist. I don't know. You know what? I just thought of it. I know who steps up to him next and takes that IC title.
Who?
They said that Butch is going to become a Pete Dunne again, I read. Money in the Bank is in England.
That's money right there. That's money. That's the perfect time to introduce Pete Dunne back.
Yep.
Literally the perfect time.
And I've sold myself on that idea because then you can run the feud with Sheamus and Pete Dunne. Pete Dunne was able to beat Gunther. Sheamus couldn't. It writes itself. It writes itself. They should just put us in the writer's room at this point, Brandon. But one story that neither of us would be able to write because, well, we don't have that level of creativity. Tag team title match that should main event night one of WrestleMania.
Absolutely.
The Usos versus Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. We've known it's been coming for months. It's been a matter of how is this story going to play out? It has played out even better than we could have imagined.
I think regardless of what the result is, which I think we both agree what the result is, it's going to make me genuinely sad that this storyline is going to come to an end. I haven't been hooked on a storyline like this in a very, very long time. And I'm sorry for the AEW fans. CM Punk and MJF was okay. But this storyline has had me so hooked to a point where just like, man, I hope it never ends. Like it has to end, but I hope it doesn't because man, what stories can you come up with
that are
that's
going
going
to
to
happen.
be even close to it? And hell, I know I could probably guess that the Sammy KO Uso storyline will probably continue, maybe a little bit after, but maybe a little bit after Backlash.
Mm-hmm.
But man, like after the match, you're just like, man, like you're at that point where it's close to being done. But man, this is a match I am so looking forward to. I am so freaking fired up for this match. It should be main eventing. Hopefully they change it at the last minute because the closing out the show with Sammy and KO as a new tag team champions, everyone's going home happy.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody. So please, I don't want to hype them up and downplay the women. That's not what I'm here to do.
Oh, no.
But what's right is right. And what's right is for that match to go last.
And do you want to know what's the crazy part about that? If it happens, Kevin Owens, 2 WrestleMania main events.
I thought they said he was going to be happy in the other company. What happened?
Oh.
What happened?
Crazy how that happens, right?
What a trajectory, though. What a crazy trajectory. For both of them. For both of them.
Yep. And could not be happier for both of them because genuinely, I don't know if I get more enjoyment watching. It's hard. Those are 2 guys I enjoy more than I would say 95% of the roster each and every time out there, and that's been the case for years. That has been the case for years with me, and
yeah,
I'm just finally happy. The internet has given them their flowers for years, right?
Yes,
but it finally seems like everyone is giving them their flowers at this point.
Yes,
and well deserved. So I mean, if we don't see new tag team champs, I'll be surprised.
I'm shocked.
Getting into the main event on Sunday, where we will probably see more pyro in a 10-minute span than we have ever seen for 2 entrances combined. Man, oh man, am I excited, man. And I know, I say it every time we talk, I know you're not a Cody Rhodes fan, but this is the white meat ultra babyface this company has been looking for a decade. And the reactions genuinely seem to be getting louder and louder every single week for Cody. And the woe that stadium is going to be deafening.
Can I admit something?
Mm-hmm.
I found myself doing the wall a couple of times. I've caught myself. And then I get myself caught up in the theme song, and then he grabs the mic. I'm just like, oh fucking boy. But anyways, you are absolutely correct. You are absolutely correct. This is the baby face that they've been looking for. This is the guy that's going to fill John Cena's shoes. And they tried to put Roman Reigns, but it just felt forced. Cody Rhodes is the most natural baby face I think I've seen in a very, very, very long time. It's effortless.
Effortless is the way to put it. And I've been of the opinion, so I've always been a big Cody Rhodes fan throughout his entire career, whether it was WWE, the Independents, AEW. I mean, now back in WWE again. Ring of Honor. When he was the Ring of Honor World Champion, that was really the only time I ever tuned in to watch Ring of Honor because I've always been a big Cody Rhodes fan. He is so much better as a natural heel. But in my opinion, at least. But right now, they're putting themselves in a corner where they're not going to be able to ever turn him heel, and I think he'll be A-okay with that.
Honestly, yes, and I think there will absolutely be a scenario where he does become the bad guy because it's just the thing that happens every couple of years. You have that guy who's white hot. He's
Mhm.
white hot for the next 5-6 months. And there's that one guy who's like right there with them. He's right there with them. I'm not sure who that guy is going to be,
Mhm.
but I will say WWE better find the contingency plan because these guys who get cheered the loudest, it don't last forever. It does not. Because it's going to be a time where Cody Rhodes is going to be somebody's favorites, a lot of people's favorites, and they're not going to react well to it.
Mhm.
They're not. Put him in a ring with Sami Zayn and you see what happens. It's going to get bad at one point. So the thing is, I think how they play this is the classic build up a good heel and he beats him. And now you do that for a good amount of time, but you can't rely on that because eventually you're gonna have to put up a babyface versus babyface, and that's
Mhm.
where it's gonna get
That's
very,
what,
very
no,
tricky.
you're probably correct. And I do think that we will see a Sammy and Cody program, just how they, they've kind of planted the seeds here with the build where
Mm-hmm.
Cody's been trying to get, get him off Roman's track, get him on the Usos. You could play the whole cards. Cody, you were afraid of me, blah, blah, blah. I mean, you have the storyline written in, seeds have been planted. I'm still not sold that Cody's winning.
Really?
I thought it was inevitable, but I don't know if they have the bloodline lose it all in one night. And I think they really want to see Reigns go over 1,000 days. And
Mm.
I think that Roman winning here, Cody losing, that keeps pushing that, oh, finish the story, finish the story. And it doesn't. Cody's gonna have to lose eventually, right?
Yes.
You can't have him never lose. And I think this is one of those situations where it wouldn't hurt him to see him lose here, because if he inevitably comes and beats Reigns for the title, say they stretch it out to SummerSlam somehow. I don't know
Mm-hmm.
how they would do it. That's 4 more months, but the pop there for a win at SummerSlam, if he did it there in the second try, man, oh man,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be louder than the one he would get at Mania.
Man.
I just don't know how they stretch it that long. That's the problem.
Yes. Yeah, that's gonna be the issue they're running into. And I think it's interesting because because let me just get this out the way. I'll be shocked if Cody Rhodes does not walk out
No,
WrestleMania
I
as
agree.
champion. I'll be
I'm just
stunned.
playing devil's advocate here. I do genuinely believe that will be the case, and I think he's going to come out Monday Night Raw and he's going to lay one of the titles in the ring. But there's also the rumor that they're going back to one world title. I don't know if you saw that.
I
They have a
heard.
new world title design approved. I don't know what that means. I don't know what to expect. Does that mean that they're dropping the Universal title? Does that mean they're merging them into one, just going back to a WWE championship?
I think they're merging them. That's what it sounds like.
Which, which I'm okay with. I'm
Yeah.
okay with, considering the work that Triple H has done to revamp the mid-card titles. The mid-card
Yeah.
titles finally feel important again. They're not getting
Right.
off of pay-per-views. They're being defended in high-level programs. We're in a good place. Not weird. Wrestling fans are in a good place. Let's say that.
Yeah, I do think it's interesting too because with the new design that's looming, one thing that they have really gone away with is having every title look the same. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's very, very, very important to point out
Mm-hmm.
because if that's the case, this next world title is going to be fucking gorgeous, and I can't wait to see it.
I think it's going to be a modern spin on the Wing Dingle.
Wing Dingle.
Yep. That's what
Yeah.
that's what I'm expecting, especially since Cody's always talked about how much he likes that, and I think that would just be, I don't know. I would be surprised if that's not the route that they kind of take.
Yes, and they're gonna find a way to modernize the hell out of it. So I'm cool with that. I think that belt will look good on a lot of wrestlers. So if they want to put their own spin on it, perfect. I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm. So I mean that's gonna wrap up wrestling talk, but one more thing.
One more thing before we go into our last thing, I want one Raw after Mania prediction from you.
Matt Cardona debut. Not Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona.
Like that. For me, Jey Uso leaves the bloodline. Gone. Done.
Really?
Done. It's the seeds are being planted already. He's gone.
I don't hate that at all. I don't hate that one
It's
bit.
I'm telling you, it's gonna lead to a brother versus brother match, and it's going to be something. It's gonna be something.
Wow. Do you think it would be him before? I could also, yeah, no, you're right. I like that prediction. I was going to try and get too cute with it. No, that we're up for an interesting couple of weeks here, and I am excited.
Yeah.
But on top of wrestling, WrestleMania, NFL free agency draft coming up, baseball season, it's back. I'm ready to be heard again 162 times.
What a great quote.
And we're not going to get too into it. We'll probably do a deeper dive into baseball next week. But Brandon, I want your World Series prediction with opening day right around the corner tomorrow.
So I'm unconventional with every prediction that I do in every sport. So I'm gonna go American League champion Seattle Mariners going to shock the world, winning the American League, dethroning the Astros. They're gonna be my American League champions. National League is going to be more of the same. I think Philadelphia is going to win the National League because they're just absolutely fucking loaded, and I would be stunned. Get this on tape. I'll be stunned if the Phillies don't win the World Series this year. Those guys are loaded. They got better. Somehow. They're loaded. If they don't win the World Series, it's a complete bust, in my opinion. You can say that about a lot of teams, but where Philly was, where they were as completely overlooked as they was going into last year's playoffs, I think this year things are going to happen. I don't think the Mets or the Braves are sure to win that East. Like it's gonna be a fight, but I think the Phillies will win the World Series this year.
Okay, so I have a different Ellie's team winning my World Series. I have the Atlanta Braves. I have the Atlanta Braves over the Houston Astros.
Love it.
And
Love it.
I'll spare the details, but that Braves team scares me.
Yeah, they're good. They're good.
Team is good.
Yeah.
So that'll wrap things up for this week. Long episode. Thank you for sticking around this far if you made it. But we will be back next week, and I'm sure I'll be having a mental breakdown over the White Sox, and we'll be talking Bears again and WrestleMania Fallout. But until then, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to the show, and we will see you next week.